The poll numbers continue to give Democrats and Kamala Harris cause for optimism in the fight to stick a fork in Donald Trump once and for all. But a prominent Democrat has taken to social media to give Democrats a major reality check just 9 Tuesdays before Election Day. And I have the breaking story for you next. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the prominent Democrat I'm speaking of, and I'll have her words of caution for you in just a minute. But first, let's look at the most recent polling that she's addressing in her statement. For context, I've curated the good, the bad, and the ugly from today's news. First, the good for Team Harris from Good Morning America.
Still a tight race.
Yeah, good morning, George. The momentum that Vice President Harris had the last few weeks appears to have stalled, but she retains a slight edge in both national and battleground state polling. Our latest poll with Ipsos shows Harris up 52-46 among likely voters. That's basically where the race was before the Democratic convention. It's still there now. That is better than President Biden was looking when he exited the race a couple weeks back, when he was trailing nationally and in the major battlegrounds. Our 538 polling average now has Harris up slightly, but just slightly, in 6 of the 7 battleground states. This remains pretty close to a toss-up as we enter this critical stretch.
Next is the bad. Bad for Donald Trump, that is. This report from CBS explains how he continues to alienate female voters and the subtle Harris campaign strategy to drive that wedge even deeper. And please stand by because that AOC warning is coming up.
So I want to talk to you about some new polling that shows Vice President Harris has widened her support among women, leading Trump by 13% among that voting bloc. So I'm curious about the kind of insight that we can glean from this trend.
We do know is that the campaign is heavily focused on making sure that they're courting the support of women across across party lines, not just from Democratic women and from their base supporters. And an example of this is a bus tour, the Reproductive Freedoms bus tour that the campaign is officially kicking off today in Palm Beach, Florida, that you were mentioning earlier. And this is intended to make 50 stops from now up until Election Day, and making sure that they're courting women and making sure that they're also educating women on what Project 2025 is and what it would mean for women all across America. And this is not just visiting, blue cities or blue areas, but also making sure that they're visiting and that they're courting Republican women's.
And finally, the ugly. These 2 clips sets us up nicely for the AOC reality check to come. I found 2 different Fox News channels that contradict each other with poll reports. It's ugly because it shows that polling remains an inexact science and that news organizations often cherry pick.
Recent polls indicate that Vice President Kamala Harris trails Donald Trump in 5 key swing states, is tied in 2 others. The survey is conducted by Republican pollsters Trafalgar Group and Insider Advantage show Trump leading in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, while being neck and neck in Michigan and Georgia.
Now, according to an average of recent polls from Real Clear Politics, Vice President Kamala Harris holds a 1.8% lead nationally over Trump and slight leads in each of the blue wall swing states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin.
And now for AOC's thought about the polls and something she describes as the trifecta. It's her wake-up call answer to the question, what are the chances Dems will win in November? It was posted to the TikTok channel Democratic Movement.
I get a lot of questions along these lines, and there's 2 central points. Number 1, the chances are 50-50. It's a coin flip. Our chances of winning are about as equal as our chances of losing, which is why I don't find it particularly helpful to know at this juncture what the probabilities are. We make our chances. And so right now, our central priority over the next 2 months, the next 60-something days, is to maximize our chances of winning. That's number 1. Number 2 is, yes, the presidency is most important, but I'm going to be very real with you all right now. If we win just the presidency and we lose the House or the Senate, we're not going to have a lot of progress as a people. We need a trifecta, House and Senate, in order to win. Okay?
At the end of the election day, polls missed the mark for a variety of reasons. 1, it's tough to get a truly representative sample of voters. 2, some people might not want to share their real preferences. And 3, some may change their minds at the last minute or not show up on election day. The 2016 race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is a prime example. Most national polls were predicting a Clinton win, some by a significant margin. But when the votes were counted, Trump emerged the victor by winning key battleground states, even though he lost the popular vote. This outcome revealed some very big holes in the science of polling. And that's why AOC says don't rely on polls to measure our chances. Instead, she says we make our chances. I'm Dan. Thanks for watching. And I say, let's continue to occupy democracy together.